Welcome back to the Scotti-BYTE channel, and this is Scott. In the last couple of presentations, we discussed how to create and mount virtual disks in Linux. Virtual disks can emulate a block-based storage device inside of a single file. You can also create an encrypted virtual disk in Linux. We are going to learn how to use the Linux Unified Key Setup, or LUKS for short, to create and access encrypted storage inside of a virtual disk. Let's go see how this is done. So here we are at the command prompt of my desktop system. You could do this on a desktop or a server. And the first thing we want to do is to make sure that crypt setup is installed with a sudo apt install crypt setup. It's already installed on my system, and so the next step is going to be to create a file that will represent our virtual disk. And you'll recall from last time, we do that with the dd command. And in this case, I'm going to create a file on my media directory, and I'm going to call it encrypted-disk.img. The block size is 1 megabyte and the count is 50. So this is going to be a 50 megabyte file. So now it has created a 50 megabyte file for our encrypted disk. If you recall from last time, our next step was to format the disk, but this time we're going to set up the encryption before we format the disk with the command sudo crypt setup LUKS format. Type is LUKS2, and then the hash is SHA 512, key size is 512. We're using the AES Cyber, and I'm pointing to the image file we just created. It will come up and say this will overwrite data on that particular disk image. Are you sure? Type yes in capital letters. If we don't type it in capitals, you'll get an error and it'll say operation aborted. So we'll call the command up again. This time we'll carefully type in YES all in capitals, and then it'll ask us to enter a passphrase, which is going to be the password for the encrypted device. So I type that in, I verify it, it waits a few seconds, and it formats the disk, and you should see a result here. And there we go, it comes back to the prompt. To examine whether a file has been encrypted, we can execute the file command, and you can see that it does say that it is a LUKS encrypted file. In order to access our encrypted file and turn it into a file storage device, we have to do a crypt setup LUKS open on the particular file, and I also give it a name that I want to map to. So it will ask us to enter the passphrase, which I do, and it connects to the disk. Now that I'm connected to the disk, I can check the status of the disk with a sudo crypt setup -v status on encrypted disk, which is what I mapped it to above. And it will come back and tell me how it's formatted and what its cipher is. And I don't mean really formatted, I mean what its layout is in terms of encryption. Now that we're connected to the disk, the next step is to format it, and we're going to do that with a sudo mkfs.ext4/dev/mapper/encrypted-disk. And that allocated the file allocation table, and it formatted the drive. To examine the formatted disk, we can enter the command ls-l on /dev/mapper/encrypted-disk. And you can see here that we are connected to the disk. Next, we're going to create a folder as a mount point with a sudo makedir /mnt/encrypted-disk. And now we mount the disk with the sudo mount /dev/mapper/encrypted-disk to /mnt/encrypted-disk. Now that we've done that, we can cd over to that folder And we're going to make this accessible for my user account by doing a sudo chown owned by the Scott account /mnt/encrypted-disk. Now that I'm located over here, of course, we do an ls and we just have a lost and found. We can do a makedir test and do an ls, and you can see test is inside of that folder, and we were able to do so without privilege. We can do a touch a test dash file, and you can see that it created the file as well. Now we're going to go ahead and cd back to my home directory with a cd tilde. I'm going to clear the screen here, and the next step that I'm going to do is a sudo umount /mnt/encrypted-disk, which will dismount the disk. And keep in mind that I could turn around and still mount it here, but in order to make it secure again, I do a sudo crypt setup Luke's close encrypted-disk, and now we have closed the encrypted disk. Now that we've closed the encrypted disk, we could just try to do a regular mount command like we did in the previous video with the sudo mount -o loop /media/encrypted-disk.img to our mount point /mnt/encrypted-disk. And of course that fails because it says unknown file system crypto-_luks, which is another way of saying that I can't access this encrypted data. So the proper way to access the disk again is by executing another sudo crypt setup Luke's open command as we did previously, typing in our passphrase, and then once it connects, we would do the mount command again with the sudo mount /dev/mapper/encrypted_disk /mount /encrypted-disk, and once again it's mounted. So now I'm going to go ahead and dismount the disk with a sudo umount command. And the next thing I'm going to do after that is assume that I'm completely finished with this disk. So I'm going to actually delete the disk and all the data in it with a sudo remove /media/encrypted-disk.img, and that actually deleted the disk file. And just to clean up the system, I'm also going to delete the folder that was used as the mount point with a sudo rmdir /mnt/encrypted-disk, and we've cleaned up after ourselves. So in summary, we saw how to set up cryptography on a virtual disk in Linux. We learned how to create a disk image and mount the disk image as a mapped file system using the Linux Unified Key setup. And this is a useful technique for the creation and management of secure encrypted data on your Linux systems. Anyway, that's it for today. Please subscribe and like the channel, and don't forget to hit that notification bell, and we'll see you next time.